The keynote speaker to open the conference is someone that I guess almost doesn't need an introduction, but at least I will mention the fact that she is the director of the White Earth Land Recovery Project, and you may have recalled that at one time, maybe more than one time, she was a vice presidential candidate for the United States of America. And so without too much noise from me, I will bring up Winona LaDuke. And Alan, can you release the projector?
Oh, Facebook. Hello, can you see me? Can you hear me? If you sit in the front row, you can't see me though. Is that projector now?
There it is.
Do I got it? Can I put this down a little bit? There. I shut it off? What?
Let's wake up the computer. The computer actually
Let's see.
went to sleep while it's waiting for us to get to the presentation.
No, hold on a second.
There it comes.
Is that me? Oh, yeah. Well, here I am. How do you do this stuff?
Slide.
Go like this?
Or however, yeah, something like that.
Well, how do I go to the next one? Like this? Okay, this is okay. We're going to try here, okay? Wait, someone's going to help. I'm really not good at this.
You're supposed to actually do something.
Okay. From the beginning. And then I'll hit this button to run. Yeah. Okay. Alright, there you go. Ani nindo ay maganjak nigaza kita magas yun ay siklo di ko makwa indo den kala bani ka which kind of gini hindi di ba which nigo channel ko nalaziyan which mama aki mama aki greeting in Ojibwe, which is our language, and thanking you very much for the honor of being here with you today. I'm real honored and I like this area very much, and I was honored to be asked to come down here. I'm telling you where I'm from, which is the White Earth Reservation, which is up in northern Minnesota. You all know where Minnesota is that right? Very good. I got two young ladies from Minnesota today. And I'm from between the towns of Bemidji and the city of Fargo, North Dakota. That's where my reservation is. It's one of 7 Ojibwe or Anishinaabe reservations in the north, just to give you a little bit of a sense of where I'm from. And very thankful to be here. And this month in our language is called Gashkadnagisis. Gashkadnagisis, which means a freezing over moon, which is about right here. Is it going to be freezing over here? Okay, good. And then the one that follows that is called Manadu Gisis Sudas, Little Spirit Moon. Then Hiji Manadu Gisis, which is a Great Spirit Moon. Then we have a moon that follows that, which is called Namegana Gisis, which is a sucker moon. At first we're kind of fish that we have up there in our lakes. And then we have a moon that goes after that is called, my personal favorite, I like how it sounds, is Anabana Gisis. Like that, can you say that? Anabana Gisis? See, that's a good one, huh? It means hard-crusted snow moon, right? And you know what that means when it snows and it thaws and it freezes again, right? Also known as the moon you don't want to do face plant in the snow. And then we have our maple syruping moon. This Kigami Ziggy Gisis, which is our maple syruping moon. And that's when the power comes up from then it begins to thaw and it goes up to the tree, and then we harvest our sap for our syrup. And then we have a moon called Wabagana Gisis flower moon. Odemina Gisis, that's our strawberry moon. Ode is a heart, it's a heartberry, they call it Mean Gisis blueberry moon. And then we have Menominake Gisis, I'll talk about that a little bit later. Menomin is our wild rice. Menominake Gisis, wild rice making moon. And then we have Watebaga Gisis, which is the leaves changing color moon, and then Banakwe O Gisis, which is when the leaves fall. And I know you're wondering why I told you that. I thought you might like to hear my language a little bit so you can hear, and then also that you might like to see how time is related to place, right? And I think that that's part of what we need to look at, is how we, whether we are from here for a long time or whether we came here, relate to place in how we think. And then I also think that you might like to know, and I think you noticed this, did you notice that none of those moons is named after a Roman empire? Did you hear that? There's no guys from, no Romans in there. So I wanted to suggest to you that it's okay. It's okay. It is possible to have an entire worldview that has nothing to do with empire. See? Look at that. That's possible, and that's okay. And in fact, it might be a little bit more durable over the long haul, because that empire problem is a little bit how we got where we are now, you know. And so I think some of what we talk about, and the governor here represent this whole issue of, and as well Camille, talk about the idea of, you know, how preceding and post-seeding, or whatever we call that, this empire of mining, of genetically engineering, of moving all the water, of combusting ourselves to oblivion. We end up in this place, which is this opportunity we have now to do the right thing. Or as the Hawaiians would say, we have the Deb way would be the truth in Ojibwe, but I always like the Hawaiian word that is pono, which means the righteous thing. And I like that we are the spiritual beings who are here now. The Creator put us here right now, then He put us here at a different time, and so we have this opportunity to do great spiritual things, to bring back the seeds and the plants that are old, are ancestral. And they aren't just seeds, they are stories, they are culture, they are place, and they are power and spirit. And we are the people that could do that. We're the people that could keep them from putting up another coal plant. You know, we are the people that could keep them from chopping the top off of a mountain. For what is it they were looking for in Avatar? Trying to find some more unobtainium. How many of you saw that movie? Yeah, I was in the front row twice with the 3D glasses. I loved that movie. Unobtainium. You know, which is really what it is about, you know? Probably time to quit. And then, especially when you're looking for it on a different planet, definitely time to quit. That's got a really high carbon footprint, bringing that stuff back up. Anyway, so we are the ones that are. And so I think that's a great opportunity, you know, a spiritual opportunity to be those people. And so I want to thank you for being those people. Now, I'm a last millennium woman, so the PowerPoint thing, as you noticed, is a little bit different, but I wanted to show you some things from my community, because I could talk about them, but I like my pictures, turns out. So this presentation was actually, I went to the traditional Hawaiian elders had gathered, and they asked me to talk to them because I'm a rural development economist by training. And what my field of work is really reservation economies. The question of how we move forward, how we recognize where we are, and how we move forward within our cultural values and teachings. And recognizing both the choices on how we relate to our land and how we relate to technology. That's my field of work. And which is not unique to any community. I just happen to work, you know, in tribal reservation communities, but they asked me, so this is a presentation I made for them, and so I brought it because I thought you might like it a little bit, okay? It explains these things, but this is the first slide. It says, because the Hawaiians, I don't know if any of you hung out with them, but they have really, they're all talking Hawaiian when they translate for me. And I like that very much, but they were they're very long, everybody has very long creation stories, but they all started with, in the beginning there was nothing. So I said, look, in our story as well, in the beginning there was nothing, see? So that's my first slide, the nothing of the beginning. And this is where my community comes from. I just give you an idea. And this is not actually a map of reservations, this is more a map of our We are painters, we're not pictographers. We don't pick up the rocks, we paint on them. So these are our ancient sites, some of them, yeah? Which are trained in the northern part of 5 American states and the southern part of 4 Canadian provinces. That's where we in Anishinaabe live. There's about, I don't know how many, 250,000, 300,000 of us. And this is a little bit about who we are. This is our art. And I like to talk to kids in schools, and I know that there's some kids, I see you beautiful young children back there. This is our art. And I say that because, you know, I spend a lot of time in school myself, and I know as an undergraduate at Harvard, if you wanted to study art from Europe, you went to Fine Arts Department. If you wanted to study art from Native America, you went to anthropology. And that is a value assessment and judgment. Yeah? But this is our art, and I wanted to show it to you because on this you can see this is a modern artist using some of our traditional forms, but it's called X-ray. They call it X-ray when you can see inside the spirit of the animal. You see that, what you're looking at there? And then also there's these lines that connect the animals to the rest of the creation. Those are called spirit lines. And that is this whole concept that we all have, which is in Dinaway Maganatuk, that we are all related. And that is depicted in our art form. And I say that because art is something that reflects a culture, teaching spiritual practice. And all art is, you know, is valid, but it's important, particularly for young people. I think a lot of times in our schools, even well, here you are, I think, are more evolved in that, or you kept more. But sometimes I see in our native schools in the north that we do not teach our kids our own forms of art. We teach them more Eurocentric forms of art and imagery, which I think is not. I like to see all kinds, but I like to see this to start with, so we understand who we are. This is a calendar, which is a cyclical calendar. And I can't remember exactly how this all worked out. I put this together a long time ago with some people. But I also wanted to show you, this is our seasons. Biboon, we're Dagwag, and we're still in fall now. Then Biboon is our winter season, which is at the top, and Sigwan is our spring, and Niban is our summer. But I wanted to show you as well, and this is talking about our Menominake, our wild rice harvesting, and our making maple syrup is Zinzibag quad, and then hunting is USA, and our netting for fish. I got a crook in my neck, so I look kind of funny here. But I also wanted to show you that writing. That's called syllabics. I don't know if you ever saw that, but that is how Northern Ojibwe, Cree, and Inuit are written. It's not in Roman orthography. And I just want to say that too, because there's different ways that writing and people have chosen to go in that. And so I ask you to think about, you know, of course, you are all pretty evolved if you are here, but the idea of getting outside of the colonial paradigm, or the, you know, the paradigm that we are raised in, where we don't even know that writing is different now. Okay, then this is a little bit about who we are. This is our ceremonial practice. Everybody has a different one. This is, you laugh because I had a big long staff meeting. I could have come down earlier, but I had a retreat, strategic planning retreat for an organization yesterday. And we're talking about indigenous architecture, but this is our Medewin, which is about 5,000-6,000 years old, these ceremonies. And you can see the pictograph, and then you see the drum he has, the tall drum. This is a water drum that this man has on my reservation in 1906. And we have the same ceremonies today. They look a lot alike. Everything's the same for 6,000 years. So it's kind of a durable thing. But I want to show you, do you see the structure on the right? That's a Medewigimig. It's a lodge, our houses that we use for our Medewin ceremonies. And you laugh at me, but a lot of you are gardeners. So they were talking about a high tunnel garden yesterday. And they were saying, oh, we got to get these tubes and these metal things. I said, let's just make a Medewigimig and cover it with plastic. Then we will have a high tunnel garden, right? Doesn't that look like the beginning of High Tunnel? Yeah, because they were all like, And then, you know, because I'm the executive director, I probably get to make the last call. I said, we're going to try this one for this year. See how long our wigwam works out there. You know, I don't need the fancy high tunnel metal stuff. We try my wigwam here. Anyway, so you guys can come check us out and see how that panned out for me. this is some of, I just did this for the Hawaiians, but this is also, our history is depicted on these birch bark scrolls. And that's a drawings from Cass Lake, and then the traditional rock paintings. This is our ceremonial practice. This is our canoe races, kind of cool. A lot of lakes, 47 lakes, 500 bodies of water on the reservation. And our river system is our primary historical form of transportation. Yeah. And this is some of our spiritual. This guy on the left with the horns is Mishi Bijou, the great horns, the great horn lynx. And then here's the coming on with the horse. You see that too, where that was depicted. Okay, then this is a little bit about us. I'm sorry this woman has a 5 o'clock shadow. We did remove it in subsequent. All right, so let me just talk a little bit about who we are and what we do. So I've been at this about 30 years. I moved back to my reservation at 81, which is about 30 years ago next year, yeah. And we start first by working on our land rights issues like other indigenous people. We were faced with the fact that most of the land inside our reservation was held by non-native interests, the logging companies, you know. Weyerhaeuser was formed in Little Falls, and he based his empire basically on clear-cutting the reservations in Minnesota and going west and going worldwide. The reality is that some get rich and some get poor. And so our land was taken by timber barons and also by farmers and ranchers and under the allotment era. And so we fought to get back our land for many years, and we sued the federal government in, it started in the late 70s, where there was a national review of what had happened to Indian lands on our reservations, and found that the federal government as a trustee had mismanaged our estate, and most of our land had been taken illegally. So we fought to get back our land, and at that time we fought a tribal government that was very corrupt. And they were wanting to just accept a settlement, and we fought them for many years. And finally a settlement came through, but it was not just. Still paying us for land, about $20 million for clearing title to our reservation, which is not just. It's, our proposal is that they should buy out the non-Indian interests on a willing seller, willing buyer basis, yeah? And they should return a third of the land that was held by the federal, state, and county governments. That is a just settlement. And I say that because this issue is ongoing in Indian country. The question is, we tell our kids not to steal, but the U.S. government is a huge thief and took a lot of land from our people and watched this happen. So our organization formed out of a struggle, and after battling and then going to Congress, I went to my board and I said, I look down here and I see Taos, and I see Zuni, Blue Lake, I see the rise of the Nature Conservancy, the Trust for Public Lands. I said, can we set up something like that in our community? Where we go and we try to get back some of our land. So we started that in 1989, and we keep going today. This is about us. We have about 1,400 acres of land that we hold as a non-profit land trust. This includes our garden areas, our farming areas, and I'm very interested. I look at what you grow here, and I'm going to go look at your orchard and a little bit of your fields. Obviously, we're very far north, but we can learn a lot from your agricultural programs and how you have kept things. Traditionally, our people also very good gardeners. We're the northernmost corn growers in the world. We push corn 100 miles north of Winnipeg. And so we have a good skill set, but similar to in your community, a lot of that in disarray, and now the advent of, bad food, pretty much, and lazy people, let's be honest, that's what happened. And so we are working on that, but we have that, and we have large maple syruping areas, and then we purchased in 2006 this school, that's our headquarters, and it's very similar to other communities. In 2003, the Callaway Elementary School, which is here, was awarded the No Child Left Behind Award. In 2004, they put $1.5 million in renovations into the school. In 2005, they closed the school for financial reasons, bus those kids into town, right? This is rural school districts because we don't invest in education. We have more shopping malls than high schools in this country. And then in 2006, they sell us the school for $275,000. So there you go. That's what we buy. And then this is, you know, you can see other stuff we have. We end up with traditional cemeteries. I don't know if you have the same issues here, but we were talking about it yesterday at our staff meeting. I own 2 graveyards. It's just crazy how that happened, but in our reservation, I don't know if it's the same as in your communities here. Our traditional people are people that are urban. A lot of our people are urban, about 2/3 at least, live in the cities. They want to come home, and they call it the Holy Wars on White Earth because the Catholics and the Episcopals control the cemeteries, and they did not want, you know, people from the cities who were not traditional be buried there. And people want to come home and be buried, so we end up owning these 2 cemeteries which are getting full. And they're traditional cemeteries for people who are Meduan or Big Drum people. And so that's kind of a crazy thing I didn't have in my strategic plan that I own cemeteries, but I got cemeteries. This is us photoshopping in this wind turbine, which I talk about later. Okay, we talk a little bit about, so we work on this, but the role that we all have, I think a lot of you here and that I look at, is this question of looking what is coming. And so there are 3 issues that we are working on in our community. One is this issue of peak oil, one is the issue of climate change, and one is the issue of food security, right? You know, you could add water in there, which is the same thing, you know, all related. I mean, we don't have the water issue so much, but I gotta keep North Dakota from stealing the water. That's basically what I'm looking at right now, because they don't got a plan. They look like Albuquerque, Fargo does. Like their plan is, it looks like to spread to South Dakota. And I want to say, do you have a plan, guys, you know? But anyway, in looking at that, a lot of our, to be honest with you, a lot of our tribal leadership, elected tribal leadership is still in both crisis management stage and then largely focused singularly on expansion of casino economy, you know, in our community. And so in our case, you know, I'm looking at the question, you know, because I have the privilege, as a lot of you do, of you know, being exposed to bigger issues. And there's 3 issues that affect us. So this peak oil issue, I think you guys don't need a lecture on, you know, but basically it consumes half the world's known oil supplies. And what remains is in places we don't want to get it. And so that has implications. One, the cost of oil keep going up, increasing fuel poverty for our communities, right? Implications obviously for transportation of food. And also, reality is that we get oil now in places we should not. The 2 places we get it, the 2 examples, 3 places. One, tar sands of Alberta. You guys heard of this project? Single largest industrial project in world history. Mining an area the size of Lake Superior, turning it into basically a toxic dump in order to feed America's addiction. You know, so this is part of what I'm battling nationally. That, you don't get to do that. Very hard battle, you know, because there's this whole pretense that this is domestic oil. Canada is actually a different country, you know, but this is this pretense that this is, you know, energy security. And so we've been battling the pipelines, but it is a huge issue. You don't have them going through here from what I know, but I know, for instance, in Nebraska, Trans-Canada Pipeline has threatened eminent domain against farmers. And I don't know how a foreign corporation gets to eminent domain land for a pipeline in Nebraska. It's a huge, to me, it's this, I don't know if that's a constitutional or a legal issue. You know, it's how you get to condemn it. And those farmers say, no, we don't really want a pipeline because we saw your other leaks up there in Michigan. You know, these other places, and we got a shallow aquifer, and so all we got is this water. You know, but these issues of how the addiction to oil became such that it so determines public policy. Yeah? So this pipeline, the other thing we're working on, I don't know if you follow this at all, is this thing called the heavy haul. Very interesting dilemma. The trucks and the equipment that they're using here, they're trying to transport the new set of them in so that they can expand the tar sands. And the shipments are the size of the Statue of Liberty on its side. They're like 30 feet tall, 24 feet wide, and 100 and some feet long, right? That's what we're talking about, the size of the Statue of Liberty on its side. It's called the heavy haul. And in order to get it in, they can't put it on a highway system, right? So what they're trying to do is ship it up through the Columbia River to the port of Lewiston and haul it over Highway 12 into Missoula and up to Canada. Highway 12 is a scenic highway, about 70 miles of it goes through the Nez Perce Territory. The Nez Perce Tribe has opposed it. And it's a switchbacks. And so they basically closed down the highway to move the oil stuff. You know? A little bit of a public health and safety hazard in my assessment. You know? And then also, who gave them the right to close down the highway? Right? For oil. And they are so arrogant. Conoco has about 6 of the rigs sitting in the port of Lewiston right now. assuming that they will be able to move them. Department of Transportation issued a permit. It was overthrown, and it's at the Supreme Court right now in Idaho. The question of, they did not consider any testimony, but it's this power of oil companies, which is what we have to fight against. And I say this because we are here doing the righteous thing, but in doing the righteous thing, my assessment is you cannot be an island of political correctness unto yourself. You also have to fight bad guys, and you have to keep fighting the bad guys, because if you don't fight the bad guys, they will keep trying to shove this stuff down our throats, So some people on Highway 12, a couple of Norwegians are like, we have a resort, you're gonna, we gotta go to the hospital, you close our road down, we're gone, right? They're fighting it. So you're trying to get it from the tar sands, other places, we're trying to get the oils, of course, from the Gulf of Mexico, places should not try to get oil, right? Deep wells, that's where the main water is many oil is 20,000 feet under the ocean, right? And then the third place to get it is, of course, countries that might not want to give it to us, right? You got a $100 billion war right now, not clear that you can afford another one. And not everybody wants to give the US oil, right? So these are the questions that we are dealing with. As indigenous communities and as rural communities, we became addicted to oil. It's a recent phenomenon, but our addiction is great. And the question is how, as in communities, we address that addiction so that we can actually have a shot at having some control over our economy. So this is our proposal on energy. We did a study of our energy economy, which is something that I would offer. I mean, the methodology is easy for a school like this. And what we did, is we went out and surveyed families, and we surveyed families, asked them what they spend on what in energy, come up with an energy equation, which is, and then I use the tribal facility, data. We spend about a quarter of our money on energy on my tribe, right? Now, nationally, we spend about a fifth of our money on energy, but in a rural, cold community, you're going to spend more, and also no one has a Prius on the reservation, right? So that's what you're dealing with. And so that has different things. It has fuel assistance issues, right? 700 families on fuel assistance, price of fuel projected to keep increasing into the future. And then you have the fact that you basically transfer the quarter of your money off your reservation because we don't have any dinosaurs, right? See what we're saying here? So in looking at this, we wanted to look at how to address it. And I'll be honest with you, I talked to my tribal government about this first, and I said, I talked to them about making a renewable energy economy. We did this study with them, and they look at me like I'm a little bit crazy, of course, not surprisingly. And I say, you need to move to a renewable energy economy because our values, as Anishinaabe people. And they kind of look at me a little bit like funny, and that's in part, just where we're at. And then I said, well, look at climate change. And at that point, the reality is that these politicians, quite often, whether they're tribal or other, I can say that there was this, a jury out thing, right? I'm not clear. There's a good case of denial going on. And then the other thing is that most politicians are thinking, well, that's not going to happen while I'm in office, is it? I've got 4 years in, not on my watch, I'm good, And obviously, indigenous thinking and sustainable thinking is way more than 4 years in office. And so it's incumbent upon us to always do that. That kind of went over with them, but didn't go over too well, and then finally I explained to them this economics. And then they get it, But that's the basics of it too, is you're transferring about a quarter of your wealth. So this is what we try to do. We look at getting more energy efficient in our houses, put up solar heating panels, and then this is our wind turbine. And I'm really proud of this. That's my grandson, that little guy, Guraden Bakanaga. He was well outside the yellow ticket, whatever, as you see. But I'm really, really stubborn. And so this wind turbine is actually a refurbished turbine. It came out of this place called Tehachapi out in California. This is kind of like a museum. There's about 3,000 turbines out there, and you go out there, and this one was still operating. And this is a lowland 75 kilowatt wind turbine, which is scaled about the right size for a building like this. And I tell you that because it's a question of scale. I didn't want to have to import a guy from Denmark and a crane from Denver. I wanted to figure out a piece of technology that was appropriately scaled and appropriate technological access for my community, right? And so this is the one we put. And I get this, and it's kind of, some funky stuff going on. I end up counting my consultants on it. I burn through these guys pretty quickly because we have a high standard. I'm not going to get, I'm not going to go with it. Anyway, so then this guy who's at the top of the turbine, he's a native vet. And I kind of know him because of my horses. And he was working with my horses. He does a lot of work with PTSD and horses with veterans. And as Native people, most people here know, we've got the highest rate of enlistment and the highest rate of living veterans of any community in the country, Native people. Hispanic community is not fucking high. And a lot of these guys come back and they have a skill set which actually is not applied. So this guy here working with horses, I asked him a bunch of questions about what he did in the military, a lot of things I didn't want to know. 26 years. Colonel. I said, why didn't you get after 4 years? That was my question, but he's in there and he says, well, he says he did a lot of things using special forces, but he says I was in demolitions a lot. I said, what you do? He says, I blew up dams, infrastructure, blew up, power stations, I blew up, communications towers, blow up stuff. I said, you got a degree to blow stuff up, or you just blow stuff up? He says, I got a degree. I have a master's in engineering. I says, really? I says, you build anything or you just blow things up? He says, I build things. I says, build this. Can you do that? He re-engineered that foundation for me. He erected this. He did a transition tube because I want a tubular tower because less birds and better for wind, less lightning strikes. Tubular tower doesn't lattice work. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. And then we put that thing on top, and that's him up there. And this is my cool thing. You're supposed to say ooh, right? And then we go, and then you stick your teepees up in front of it so they know it's yours. Of course, it's taken on my cell phone after my grandchild already smudged it up, but that's the one I have. But, yeah. So that's our turbine. And the thing about this is I'm still in a battle. Tomorrow I got to go meet with woman who recently retired from the Public Utilities Commission in the state of Minnesota because I was actually down here, last time I was here was on my birthday, August 18th. And I was in Santa Fe. I was like, heck of a thing to do for your birthday. But I came down here for the new energy economy people who had filed and requested that the Environmental Review Board review CO2 emissions. You all know this case? And the Environmental Review Board want to do it, the utilities and the power companies take them to court, and then Supreme Court rules unanimously that in fact it's true that they have the jurisdiction to regulate CO2. And so I came as an expert witness because my field is this green economy, and so my birthday party was in Santa Fe where I spent 4.5 hours being cross-examined by your utility company attorneys. And I sang happy birthday to myself a couple times, straight as. But I figure that's a good thing. I know what date it was, and I feel like it was a good birthday present to do my best to fight climate change. And I don't know how that case went. Huh? They got what?
Well, it's been adopted.
What was adopted?
Well, the EIB determined that really.
So the EIB did determine and it was adopted?
Yes, and now the governor says she's going to try to figure out what's wrong.
So they elected the governor who's going to try to overthrow it. But the Environmental Review Board ruled that it did have the jurisdiction over climate change. So now you're going to have a political battle for a few years. Yeah, not surprised. But, well, good job on that, though. Good job on that. And so we're all on that. In my case, what I got to deal with is the fact that this size wind, this country has been divided into 2 wind categories. Small, which is your household or your farm, pretty much. And then big. And big is corporate owned, by and large, because you don't have the financing for it, and it's owned by Florida Power and Light and the major utilities. And medium-sized wind is what we call community scale wind. And so this project here, what I'm battling is that this wind turbine is going to power my building first, and then I sell my surplus to the grid, right? And I tell you this because Ottawa Power Company wants to, well, charges me 10 cents a kilowatt when I purchase it, but only buy it for 3 cents a kilowatt. Right, which is how punitive the system is. Plus, in this thing, they're making me basically rewire the whole city of Callaway. So that's what my argument is with the PUC, Public Utilities Commission, is that it's punitive to be in this size of wind, but this is appropriately scaled for community. Because in this case, in doing that, not only do I save the revenue, you understand what I'm saying, between the 3 and the 10 cents? Yeah? I don't got to pay that now, but it's surplus, and so it's right scale, and it's a good size machine. But all the investment is in bottom and top. And so I'm calling this kind of that we're trying to break the glass ceiling, you understand, as a native community and be big enough. It's also not under net metering. So that's why I gotta go home this afternoon or tonight because I gotta go to Public Utilities Commission tomorrow. But I tell you this because it's really important to recover or build the intellectual capital in the community to control your energy system. And not just have other people do it for you. You know, you guys have a lot of solar, you also have wind potential here. Solar is a little bit easier perhaps, but this whole issue is a big issue and we determine we're going to control it. Second issue we're working on is, and that's how we're dealing with climate change and peak oil, yeah? Is make the alternative. And then the other reason that I have a hard time, to be honest with you, with this here, is because the power company that has to buy the power, forced to under federal law, PURPA, is the power company we just defeated their coal plant. And so they're at sour grapes. Is that fair? They really want their stupid coal plant. I said, that's a very bad idea, and we won. And I kept telling those guys, I said, it's just like kissing babies, fire and wind. You know, you guys look good, you can smile, it's good karma. They ain't going for it. Anyway, so I got battle. So pray for me in that battle. We will win, but because they're required. But oh my gosh, they try to do everything they can with me. That's our second thing we're working on, which is what you're working on here. And I came down here to get inspired. I'm going to go see the garden. I want to go see that orchard. I heard about your orchard. This year is a Lakota squash held by Ivan Curry, one of my favorite young men. I had a squash like this last year, and you don't need a lecture on this. Actually, Clayton is who showed me this first, but then I went home after I went and seen Clayton. And in this Lakota squash, I had one that was harvested in October or September, and I ate it in May last year. And what I realized when I ate that squash was it was good. The other thing is that it's a good thing because it's the perfect food because it don't require storage, refrigeration, freezing. Yeah, we all know that. But I think about that because we need to be conscious of our food choices and the energy impact of our food choices. And so I say that, because I got one niece, she goes over to Whole Foods, comes back with some perfect breakfast of like goji berries and coconut flakes or something, And it's like, wow, that's just like, it's nutritionally perfect, or with the flax and the chia seeds or something. I was like, well, what's the carbon footprint on that one, girlfriend? I mean, basically, we need to be healthy, but we need to be healthy with our own foods, yeah? Which you all know, but I say that, So, the two things we did, because I already told you I'm a rural development economist, is we did a study, same thing. I surveyed households, and we found, and I just tell you this, but you guys are all in the same canoe, I'm sure, probably the same thing. We spent about $8 million on food a year, and this, I didn't get the tribal casino money economy in there, but I just got the households and tribal programs, right? And in that, we spent 86% of it off reservation almost immediately, Food Services America, Walmart, right? And the 14% we spend on reservation, we spend largely at convenience stores buying junk food. Right? That's how you get diabetes. So, as a rural development economist, the issue I'm looking at is that my tribe and tribal communities often are looking for how to generate more full-time employment or get in more jobs into their reservation. But yet between the amount of money that is spent on food and the amount of spending that is spent on energy, it's almost 1/2 of the tribal economy. And by and large, it is outsourced. And so in relocalizing your food economy and in relocalizing your energy economy, one, you reduce your leak, right? Two, you have people who don't need to earn so much money because they're farming and they have energy efficiency, right? And they have their own power. Three, people feel better about themselves because they actually have control over their lives instead of sweating how they're going to pay their electric bill, right? And four, you employ your people by circulating your dollar in your community, both for your food and for your energy. So that's what we're looking at. That's kind of the economics of it, which I know you're all involved on down here. As you all know, This is the problem with peak oil in food. Average meal travels 1,400 miles from farmer to table. Price of oil goes up, price of food goes up. Less food security in your community. I don't know how those guys over at, how's it called, Bashes? I don't know where they're getting their food 10 years from now, you know? This is a little bit about Indigenous permaculture. I want to host a Northern Indigenous permaculture workshop inspired by you all down here. This is our burning practice. Because we burn our fields, historically, and we burn our prairie. I don't think you guys do that down here, right? No? Okay, but you know, we're in a different ecosystem, and so we burn, and then Chaz knows this too, our area burned all of that, and this big thing, and that lack of burning, continuous burning, you know, with Smokey the Bear and all that causes problems, right? And then also, but we retain that burning practice, but this is a drawing of the spiritual teaching about burning. Because it has a cultural foundation in it, right? And so they all have that. It's not just a practice, it is a technical practice as a teaching unit. And so I'm trying to host this Northern workshop, and actually I need to recruit I'm hoping to recruit a couple young people to help me put together these things, because we have good ideas, but my brain cells are diminishing. Let's be honest, okay? There's just too many exciting things to do, and I need help. This is our corn project, and I'm really proud of it. I was admiring your corn. I did not bring down any of my corn this time, but I showed you this picture of my corn, which is cool corn. And this is not all my corn, but the one, this Bear Island Flint, is, so we used to have all these varieties. I already explained that, plus we push it far north. We lost most of our varieties, and then, and also, I was talking to Clayton, about how he used lime. We use ashes for our hominy, right? And then we did this for a long time, but then even now we have to teach our Indian home ec class because people don't remember how to cook that, yeah? And so I learned about 15 years ago how to make that hominy, and then we make it, but we wanted to start growing out our corn, so I went someplace about 15 years ago, I don't know, a while ago. I got about this much from this guy from a seed bank, University of Iowa State, I think, seed bank, Bear Island Flint corn. Now we have fields of it. This is Bear Island. It's from an island in the middle of Leech Lake, like a micro ecosystem. You know what I'm talking about, the microclimate thing going on? And that's one of the things that's so important about all the varieties, of course, is that they are adaptable in time of climate change because they are created for a certain area. This corn is frost resistant and doesn't require irrigation, drought resistant. And it's tough little guys, it's about this tall and with big ears. And what is good about that is in a wind sear, it stays standing. It has good standability, I guess is what you call it. So, this all is what we're looking at in our area, is how to restore those. But I'm trying to restore a set of varieties. I got about 5. I was talking to my staff yesterday about them, and adapt them to our areas. And we don't have the white corn. We're trying to grow this Manitoba white Flint out, but we didn't have a good year for some reasons, and I'm trying to get it to a viable level for both eating and then commercial. But I say that because probably similar to here, our corn we provide for our ceremonies, for all our ceremony practice down here in our community. And then more people are asking it, and it was funny because I went to Madewan ceremonies, big lodge. I go visit this other lodge, and there's like 300, 400 Ojibwe's there. That's really a lot of Indians at that ceremony. And I brought like 2 pots of this corn. And I looked at them and I said, I'm so sorry. I didn't know there'd be so many of you. I said, I'd come back, I'd bring you more next time. But it was interesting because we feed our drums, and for our ceremonies we have that. But we're the only producers in our area of this corn. And so I'm trying to get it back so I can actually feed all our ceremonies, and we get it so we can eat it, right? But so we're working on that, and we got to keep growing it out and not eat it all, So it's very tenuous thing. You guys have a lot more corn varieties growing here, but that's why I come down here and I'm going to be doing some trading of wild rice for corn because I don't have enough I have like 10 pounds that we owe out. I'm kind of in trouble. And, I just can't, just not have enough yet. But we'll be better in a couple of years with our work. But, I'm learning that. So the Bear Island Flint we're growing, The Seneca pink lady flower corn it was given to me, and I have to say, embarrassed, I don't even remember the origin exactly. I understood it was a Seneca pink lady, very beautiful. It's magenta. It's a magenta flower corn, very sweet. And my staff, it's funny, because the guys looking at it, they're like, why you want to grow this one? I said, because it's pretty. I'm the executive director, and it's pretty, okay? And I don't really have a good reason, like why I picked that corn over another. It's just stunning. It's just stunning. And this lady, Sue Wicca, who's a goat rancher, she's growing it out for me. And then I got another guy now who's trying to grow, so we get viable quantities, on the corn variety. And then this Pawnee Eagle corn, I just put this picture in there, but it is a really beautiful corn. You see that? And I'll just tell you the story, because I was just in North Dakota with the Aricaras. And I don't know this whole thing, but the Aricaras and the Pawnees used to be together, be one people, and then the Aricaras head north and the Pawnees stay in Nebraska. And then the Pawnees are good people, and they're patient, let's call it that, with the settlers. So they used to call them kind of like a AAA. Like when the wagon trains broke down, they call the Pawnees to help them out. Your wheels, your horses lame, the Pawnees help you out, I don't know if they're trying to get them to move on or what, but they're helping them out, the AAA. And the Pawnees grow this corn, and you see how beautiful it is, how it looks like an eagle? And this corn, they grew it in Nebraska, and then they were forced, even if they were so good to the settlers, they were still forced out. And they walk and just lose their people. They walk to Oklahoma. And they live down there, and, they survive because they're Pawnees, they're tough guys, but they miss their land. And their corn was in their bundles. Their corn was in their medicine bundles, and some was in museums. And about 10 years ago, they opened up their bundles, and they decided to try to grow out their corn. And they had very little of it left. And it is long, the Aricaras have more, but they're northern, and very interesting story, but they keep trying to grow it out, but it has a hard time to grow. And they're worried about it. And they get down, and some of the corn, there's only 25 left of the seeds, and they're scared. And then at the same time, this woman named Ronnie O'Brien, she runs the Gateway Museum in Kearney, Nebraska, and which is where the Pawnees are from. And she decided she wanted to do an indigenous agriculture project there, and so she's trying to grow the varieties out. So she contacted Deb Echohawk of the Pawnees, who gave me permission to tell this story for you. And Deb says, we got some of this corn now. And they talk for a long time, those women become friends, and then Deb sends her some seeds. And the seeds flourished in Kearney. They flourished. And some of those old descendants of those ranching families or farming families, they grow that corn for them. And it was interesting, the story, because they said that the families were sad when the Pawnees were forced out because they had formed relationships. They were midwives for each other, and they were relations. They were good to each other. And so those farmers grew up that corn for those Pawnees. And what Deb said is that the corn remembered the land it came from. And so that's why it grew. And so now this year, this last year they had a welcome home Pawnees days. And they had 8,000 people come. How cool or what? And then now this year, they built a big earth lodge there too. And then this year Deb told me that they're going to eat their corn for the first time because they couldn't ever eat it because they didn't have enough. And so that is the corn. You know this. The corn helps people recover relationships. It builds relationships. And one of the reasons that I work on corn is my father. He passed away about 92. But he used to. He was a very big supporter of me. But he used to tell me. He said, Winona, I don't want to hear your philosophy if you can't grow corn. That's what he used to say. And he loved me very much, but that's what he said. And it took me till about 5 or 6 years ago to understand what he meant. About how that is how you actually become the person, closer to the person you're intended to be. Because you actually grow your own food and your own corn. So this is just my little cartoon I put in there. So this is it. How's this? You teach us how to irrigate and plant corn, and we'll decimate your tribe and then a baseball team in field. This was particularly true in North Dakota where they had the fighting sea. And this here is our wild rice, and I did bring this a little bit for a couple of the families down here, but if you're interested in our rice, it's called Native Harvest. But in our rice here, it grows on our lakes and rivers, and the Creator gave us this rice as a part of we were instructed to go to the place where the food grows upon the water, and this as our rice, and I did not realize what a gift it was. I mean, I was always raised with rice, and I'm actually here because of rice, because my father met my mother because he was selling wild rice. So I'm beholden to rice for my own existence. And I raised on rice, and then, our family's always riced. And so you go out in Winona LaDuke, the wild rice making moon, with 2 sticks, and this, you can see the poles here where someone pushes the rice through, and then the person in front goes like this. I think they're showing the film maybe tonight on our rice. And you knock the rice into the canoe, and you can see the guys coming in, or, couples, women, everybody rices. Average age for a ricer on my reservation is about 25, which I just want to say because as very significant that tradition is so vital in our community. Farmers, no. Ricers, yes. Best darn ricers in the world, us guys. Serious ricers, And they go out there and they rice, and then they come in and they parch the rice over fire. You see it coming here off the fire. And then you can dance on it with your new moccasins, kind of like you guys do with the beans. That's what I learned when I was down here last time. You had to get the shells off, right? Huh?
You have to dance on it.
You have to dance on it, right? Yeah, that's what we do, have to dance on the rice to get the hulls off. Or if you got really a lot, then you run it through this little machine that goes like this. And then you got a new starchy noggin or a fanning basket or a fanning mill is what you use. And then you have rice. But this educated me. This is how I got educated on the issues of genetic engineering. Because in the first we battled to get our rice recognized. Because 95% of the rice on the market, including everything probably at Whole Foods, is coming from a diked rice paddy in California. We don't think they should be able to call it wild rice. It's like a fair trade issue. Like they shouldn't be able to sell for $10 a pound when we Indian people, two sticks in a canoe on a lake. It's totally different. Plus ours tastes like a lake, theirs tastes like a patty. And I say that I know that Whole Foods carries patty rice, but they don't carry lake rice. So for us, it was this right of who gets to call it wild rice. We think they should have to call that tame rice. Because a combine is not 2 sticks in a canoe on a lake, right? And then our next round of battle was here on the issue of genetic engineering. Because the University of Minnesota, similar with the chilies issue, want the right to genetically engineer wild rice. In our case, wild rice is a grass, so it's just like corn. Contamination, if they had a test plot in northern Minnesota, and their rice paddies will contaminate lakes. And so we said that they might have the ability to, but they don't have the right. And so we battled 3 years at the Minnesota legislature. And the battle is similar to the battles here. Over this genetic engineering issue in cultural foods. And so, I really want to support you all in this battle, but it is, the reality is a couple of things which, you are familiar with if you're in the room. First of all is, you hung out with me for 45 minutes or so now, I'm pretty smart. But I am not, to testify at a state legislature, not that different from the Environmental Review Board. To testify at the state legislature, I brought 3 white guy PhDs with me. Because, my testimony was viewed as cultural, which is dismissed, which is actually what one of the attorneys from El Paso Natural Gas said to me at that Environmental Review Board hearing. After I testified on the green economy, he said, "Is that a tribal perspective, Ms. LaDuke?" And I said, well, yes, I'm an indigenous person and my knowledge is both indigenous, but I said, I did spend a lot of time at Harvard, some time at MIT, and I do have a master's and about 30 years in the field, so I would think that would count. But it's this whole question of if, as an indigenous person, you're considered valid at a state legislature in this millennium, and you're still not. We're considered to be second class at the legislature. And but the first opposition witness out of the gate, all 3 years, was which corporation? Monsanto, exactly. Who said that if the Ojibways have the right to stop genetic engineering of wild rice, it'll be the camel's nose under the tent. I said, well, I'm not a camel, this isn't a tent. You know, I said, and sometimes you don't just get you to do it. So what we have in Minnesota is a full EIS and cultural impact statement required before the introduction of any genetically engineered test plots. That's what we have. Come on. I don't have more time, but that's what I got. And that was a 3-year battle. But I will tell you that the Native Hawaiians were able to secure a no GMO ban on the island of Hawaii on both taro, which is their traditional food, their older brother in their cosmogenealogy, that's what they call it, and then also a ban on GMO coffee. And because, you know, the same argument I made to the Minnesota Wild Rice Association was, the patty growers was, you cannot sell a genetically engineered gourmet product. You know, this doesn't work out in the market. Genetically engineered gourmet, not words that go together. You know, so that's our battle. This is our sugar bush. This is our people in our sugar bush. We're old school. Choices of technology similar to choices done here. Hand-hauled horses to move our equipment. This is my youngest son here. He was stealing my profits. Sucking sap out of the tree. But wood boiled. We are pre-petroleum and post-petroleum in our choices. But it is a question of scale, and it is a question of choosing the right technology for your people. And I just say that because that's a very important set of choices. I'm not afraid of technology. I'm going to make the right decision, so in all cases, to the best of my ability. This is my last slide. I just want to show you some of the form of our art. This is what's called ledger art. How many of you have seen this form of art before? Okay. I was just up in North Dakota, and this originated actually in what's known as the winter counts, which go back to the early 1700s on buffalo hides and elk hides. They used to keep track of significant events. I was looking at these really cool, this interpreter of winter counts for the presentation, and I was totally just entranced. But they're talking about like when a comet went through, that they would record that, yeah? Or the year when the snow was higher than the teepees, right? That's before the National Weather Service, right? Or the smallpox, or when the crows took their horses, you know, all things like that. Very interesting, you know, and this young man had studied, and, you know, and it's a very interesting art because you're looking at what they said, you know, the best of your knowledge of your history of your community or communities that you're studying, and then the other side is that you're matching it with historic data from Europe or someplace else, like the comet flew by this year, right? To date these things, very interesting, that whole study. But that's what they did, they record historic events, and then over time, when the buffalo were wiped out, and these people were incarcerated at Bosque Redondo, yeah, or Fort Wingate, or in our area was Fort Robinson, Fort Yates, Fort Sibley, you know, these places, all these places. They were given ledger paper to write on, and that's what this is. And so then they used that paper and they redid their stories on it. And so it was used to record historic events. And there's at the Santa Fe Indian Market when I was down there, I didn't get to see, but I seen one artist, and it is a prominent form. So Michael Horse, who actually goes there, I asked him if he would do me the honor of doing a piece that would depict my wind turbine ceremony, what we have, to record a present historic event. And I say this because it's very important that our art is not historic, it is today. And so this is a recording of our present historic event. And so there was a horse ceremony that I asked for. And so you see the horses, those 3 of those horses are my horses. And I did get a fine. I just want to report to you, I have a fine of $75 per horse because I got the call this morning on my way here. So I am like some of you, we have issues too. We all have issues. My blacks got out, my work horses, so those are big things to get back in. Daunting on the highway. Daunting, you put your own horse on the highway. Anyway, my horse down here, this is a horse, his name is Tupac, named after Tupac Amaru, not that rapper. The guy of 1500s from Bolivia. That's who that horse is named after. That's me, the woman with the horse. And this is John Shimmick, he's with my horse named Lucky. right? Then this is my horse named Nagani, and Aurora has him. And then this horse is a horse named Traveler, and Lyle Warren has him. So those are real people, right? And then the guy singing, his name is Gary Silk. He passed away, but he's doing the ceremony and he's singing. The man praying is a Lakota guy who climbed the wind turbine and put it up. Tony Tibbetts or Anthony DeClue. The little boy holding the pipe bag is the little boy who stole the sap. My son, who's 10. And then these are people who are watching the ceremony. And then there are 4 flags. The first flag here is the Shakopee, Mdewakanton, Dakota. They have a big casino called Mystic Lake. They also have a couple of wind turbines. They have a, what's it called, a bee thing? What's that, bee apiary? Yeah, the bee thing. And they have like greenhouses, and then they get all their Canadian geese that go hang out on the golf course, and they, once a year, they go harvest them for their elders. They have a very interesting thing going on there for a community, all gray water, you know. I'm not a big fan of gambling, but these guys have a casino, and then they fund our wind turbine. That's cool, huh? And then above that is the Venezuelan government's flag, because TASCL Petroleum also financed our wind turbine. And they provide fuel assistance to our tribe, but I said, you know, we will be cold 5 years from now. It'd be better if you help us to move to the post-petroleum economy. So that's going to help us with our wind turbine. Then my tribal flag for White Earth, and then the 4th flag is an Aboriginal flag from Australia. And I just think it's cool looking flag. So that's it, but I wanted to say, you know, it's about our culture. It is not historic, it is present, and it's a question of how, if you look at, you know, in our prophecies, we have a prophecy that refers to this time here as the time of the 7th fire. And in that, we talked about how our people were, had a lot of things happen to us. As prophets came about 4,000 years ago maybe, instructed us, told us we were going to do some crazy things, which I just always say that because no society has a monopoly on botching things up. People do that. That's because we're human. It's the question if you have the humility and the commitment to fix it. And then they talked about, you know, different things that happen to us. People come that look like white people, some be good. But he's doing the ceremony and he's singing. The man praying is a Lakota guy who climbed the wind turbine and put it up. Tony Tibbetts or Anthony DeClue. The little boy holding the pipe bag is the little boy who stole the sap. My son, who's 10. And then these are people who are watching the ceremony. And then there are 4 flags. The first flag here is the Shakopee, Mdewakanton, Dakota. They have a big casino called Mystic Lake. They also have a couple of wind turbines. They have a, what's it called, a bee thing? What's that, bee apiary? Yeah, the bee thing. And they have like greenhouses, and then they get all their Canadian geese that go hang out on the golf course, and they, once a year, they go harvest them for their elders. They have a very interesting thing going on there for a community, all gray water, you know. I'm not a big fan of gambling, but these guys have a casino, and then they fund our wind turbine. That's cool, huh? And then above that is the Venezuelan government's flag, because TASCL Petroleum also financed our wind turbine. And they provide fuel assistance to our tribe, but I said, you know, we will be cold 5 years from now. It'd be better if you help us to move to the post-petroleum economy. So that's going to help us with our wind turbine. Then my tribal flag for White Earth, and then the 4th flag is an Aboriginal flag from Australia. And I just think it's cool looking flag. So that's it, but I wanted to say, you know, it's about our culture. It is not historic, it is present, and it's a question of how, if you look at, you know, in our prophecies, we have a prophecy that refers to this time here as the time of the 7th fire. And in that, we talked about how our people were, had a lot of things happen to us. As prophets came about 4,000 years ago maybe, instructed us, told us we were going to do some crazy things, which I just always say that because no society has a monopoly on botching things up. People do that. That's because we're human. It's the question if you have the humility and the commitment to fix it. And then they talked about, you know, different things that happen to us. People come that look like white people. Some be good, some not be good. A lot of things get taken, a lot of people disappear. You know, when they talk about anthropologists, I assume, when your things go away to the museum, and then they talk about how we go get them back. prophecy. And that's what happened. Like even that ceremonial drum you see, I found one of those drums in an antique store. I found one at brought it home for our ceremonies. But we bring them home, and then we recover ourselves in that process, repatriation. And then they said our people would come to this time and there'd be two choices ahead of us. One path, one Mykonos would be well worn, but it would be scorched. And one Mykonos would not be well worn, and it would be green. And it would be our choice upon which path to embark. And that's where we are instructed that we are right now. And so I just explained to you the choices that we are making in my community at the scale that we are at, which is trying to recover our food economy and our energy economy and make these choices to say climate change is encroaching, peak oil is encroaching, and we are losing control of our food economy. We as Anishinaabe people, if we really want to be self-determining, if we want to really talk about sovereignty, if we want to control our destiny, we need to recover that and deal with our addictions, And so my theory on this is kind of if we could do it, anybody could do it. Because we don't have any special mojo, We're just people who decide that rather than complain about how tough it is, we should take our own control over that. So, Miigwech, thank you for your time. Thank you.